Hello everybody, the Great Dino Ranger here again, back with another review. Yes, I know it's been a pretty good while since my last review. I think my last review was last month, and it's already September. Just haven't been able to grab anything new for the most part, but until today, I actually just got back from Walmart. That's why I'm doing this intro here at night, so that in the daytime I can get into the actual review. But today we got another Jurassic World figure to take a look at today, one that I'm really excited to have and I've been wanting for a while now, and that is the Jurassic World Rebirth Wild Roar Utahraptor. So finally, Utahraptor is brought in from Mattel for their Jurassic lineup, because Utahraptor is such a cool dinosaur. It is definitely one of my all-time favorite dromaeosaurs, or the raptor dinosaurs. So and this is one that I've been hoping, literally praying that Mattel would make in their toy line someday. And 2025 is definitely, the year, because they gave us the Utahraptor for this toy line. And I'm really excited because, Kenner made this figure, and it took a pretty good while for Mattel to give us one. And thankfully they did. And this figure looks phenomenal. I absolutely love it, and it's the perfect scaling too, because I always thought that when Mattel ever made a Utahraptor, these medium-sized, electronic dinosaurs are the perfect scale for the Utahraptor, in my opinion. Maybe it's a tad bit oversized than what it would have been like in real life, but for the most part, I think it fits perfect. It's a giant raptor, essentially. So yeah, super excited to have this one. Briefly taking a look at the packaging here, it's your standard Wild Roar Rebirth packaging, which actually, this is my second Wild Roar I have from the Rebirth toy line, the first one being the Maiasaura. So I'm slowly making it up, trying to collect these, but I'm pretty far behind because this is only my second one. But packaging wise, everything's the same. The Spinosaurus, the Mattel logo, Rebirth logo. The only difference is that it's Utahraptor. So really sweet. Got the Rebirth logo up there, and the Rebirth logo on that side. Same with that side. And here on the other side, shows you just a bit more about the figure. A cool render says control the attack. So very reminiscent to the Primal Attack days, which was awesome. It's electronic. You can swivel the tail, FACSF information, and the other figures going to line up the Baryonyx, Maiasaura, and Nasutoceratops. Yeah, the Maiasaura is the only one I have. I'm still waiting to get the other two. So hopefully someday I'll be able to acquire those because I really want them. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for the packaging. So let's go ahead, get into daytime, and take a closer look at this awesome raptor. Alrighty, so here we have the Wild Roar Utahraptor out of the package, and this is an awesome figure, an awesome raptor from Mattel for sure. I absolutely love everything about this figure. The paint job is awesome, the sculpt and the pose, everything about it is just phenomenal. Mattel did an excellent job with this Utahraptor, and from my personal opinion, I like this one a lot better than Kenner's. Now, I don't own Kenner's Utahraptor, but I like this one a lot more because this one's a lot more faithful to, or I guess it represents more of a real-life Utahraptor than Kenner's. Kenner's was just basically an oversized Jurassic Park Velociraptor, which is also pretty cool in its own way too. But as dinosaurs and paleo discoveries kind of evolve over time, different dinosaurs change from how we used to see them. So I think it's really cool to get kind of like an up-to-date representation of a really cool dinosaur in the Jurassic toy line. Even though this is not Kenner, this is Mattel. But for not being like an actual like scientifically accurate model from like other companies like Safari or something like that, this is a really great figure. I think it captures the look of Utahraptor pretty nicely. Not 100% perfect, or 100% accurate, I should say. But overall, a really great looking figure. Because I love the sculpt on this one and the pose. It just looks so awesome. And it's just, yeah, having a giant-sized raptor as a figure, because everything is to scale for the most part with the human characters. So it's just really cool to see all these together, in my opinion. So taking a look at the sculpt right here at the head looks awesome. You can see where all this like black colored area is, that's basically the skin, so there's no feathering right here. And it looks really nice. I like the little rough skin texture, which I think is also scales, but it has like that rough looking look to it. And yeah, it just looks really great even around the eye as well. Looking very nice. And the shape of the skull too looks pretty nice as well. Pretty much captures the look of Utahraptor, except it kind of just looks more like your standard Velociraptor, maybe like a more of a scientifically accurate one, I guess, in a way, but a lot more thicker. It's not as round as a Utahraptor head should look like, but overall it looks pretty darn nice, I would say. I like the scale work and just the texture, and you can see the little nostrils right there, looking great. The teeth look really great as well. They're the classic rubber teeth, which look awesome. And they're painted, they're not even painted, they're molded in like this really bright white color, so they kind of stand out with the rest of the colors. The tongue looks nicely done as well, with some nice texturing and a nice glossy coat on it to make it look wet with saliva. Same with the little gum flaps right there. I will say the teeth should have had a more of a rounded tip here at the bottom, because if you look at the skull of Utahraptor in the lower jaw, it kind of has like this curve towards the tip of it. And you can see that a lot in the modern like paleo art representations of Utahraptor. Sadly, that was not captured onto this figure. Would have been really cool if they did do that, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But I just wanted to kind of point that out, because it's a very unique feature for Utahraptor. I wonder like what that curvature would have been used for. Maybe it's used to hold on to prey a lot better. I don't know, but it is really cool. Everything else, the entire body except for some parts on the legs and the hands, is covered in scales. However, it's not painted in the same dark color, which would have made it, you know, easier to identify which is skin and which is feathers. But everything else is covered in a lot of feathers. Now, I've heard a lot of things saying that Utahraptor wouldn't have been covered or fully covered in feathers because it would have lived in a warmer environment. So there wouldn't need to be a whole lot of feathering because it would just be way too hot. However, if you did live in the colder regions, obviously a lot of feathers would be helpful to keep warm. So while this Utahraptor is pretty much fully covered in feathers, maybe not entirely accurate to real life, but overall, I think it's just a much better option than just having a Utahraptor be scaly. Which, you know, I'm not gonna lie, if they just had a Utahraptor that's just a scaly, upscaled version of a Velociraptor, I would have been fine with that, because it's Jurassic Park, you know, not everything is meant to be fully accurate, you know, but in the end, I really do like they went the route with the feathering. So, but of course, that's just my opinion. So starting off with the feathers on the head, they look really nicely done. I like how kind of fluffy they kind of look with the sculpt, and they look really nice. The feathering goes above like the brow ridge right here, which is really cool. And I like how there's kind of going all over the place. There's like different types of feathering all over the body, which is really cool. And the way the feathering is applied, it really reminds me of the Pyroraptor from Jurassic World Dominion. I guess you could also say Chaos Theory as well, but basically the Jurassic World version of the Pyroraptor. The feathering has like this very unique look to it. So it's not like your standard feathering of how you see like in modern paleo art. It's a lot more different, but also kind of accurate-ish at the same time. That's the vibe I'm getting with this one, because there's just like all sorts of different types of feathers, which is really cool. It kind of adds more, I guess, more character to it in a way, but also it would look really cool if you like repaint this figure, because the sculpt just brings out all these different types of feathers, which just makes it look so good. I like the feathered crest here at the back, or like these just large feathers here at the back of the head, which look really nice. See, these feathers up here are a lot more hair-like, I would say. Excuse me. And then down the neck, you got some more hair-like feathers, as well as some more thicker scale-like feathers, I guess is what I'm going to call these, kind of mixed together. And then here at the body, the entire part is like all like these scale-like feathers. Some more like these more thick-looking, almost like roof tiling feathers, how they kind of overlap like that. and they look really good. And the shading too, depending on your light source, I know I keep saying this, brings out the sculpt in these feathers really nicely. So Mattel did an awesome job with the sculpt work on these feathers all over excuse me, all over the body here. And then here on the underside, some more of the hair-like feathers, kind of continuing down the underside. And that pretty much continues all the way down to the tip of the tail, which actually the tip of the tail ends in these rounded out feathers, kind of spread out. And here at the top half, just more of like these rounded, thicker scale-like feathers. And actually they go more like these droopy, shaggy looking feathers, kind of like those of what you would see on an emu, which is the vibe I'm getting here. Here at the tail, which look really great, and an excellent amount of detail in each of these feathers with the individual lines sculpted in each feather. And some of the feathers look like they've been damaged here and there, kind of like what you see on modern birds today. So phenomenal work, Mattel, on this Utahraptor. So yeah, the tail just looks excellent. I love the way the feathers look on the tail. I really do like these a lot, and I like how the feathering here is a bit more kind of like spread out, kind of like a tail fan. So not like your classic tail fan, but it's kind of more spread out, or I guess more open here at the tip of the tail, which looks really great. And how they just kind of droop down like that, which is really, really cool. And the tail is kind of thick too, but you could just say that could be just the dinosaur itself, or just the feathers on top that kind of give it like that illusion. And yes, you do have to apply the tip of the tail onto the figure, because they do come detached when you buy this figure. Here on the other side, pretty much the same thing with the feathers. They look really great. Here at the hind legs, great amount of detail in these rounded out feathers. You can see some really nice detail in each of these individual sculpted feathers, which look awesome. Really do love looking and observing and just admiring all the detail here. And all these feathers kind of change from like these more clumped together ones to like these more scale looking ones right here, which I thought these were actually scales, but no, they are actually feathers, because you can kind of see a little bit of the texturing on each one. And the feathering just ends right here, right before you get to the ankle, which it's just bare scaly skin, which, I mean, the sculpt is awesome. Just look at the sculpt they did on the legs. They just look great. On the feet right here with the nice scoots on each toe, and the detail just on the foot itself with the dew claw right there. They just look really great, and I like how robust and muscular the feet and the legs look. Like you can just see this guy just has some like heftiness as it walks a little bit, and obviously this would be a lot of damage, you know, lethal damage if this guy were to kick you, or any human, or even try to stab you with the toe claw. I mean, you're done for when it comes to these giant raptor feet. So yeah, here even on this side too, the feathering is just fantastic, and as it transitions into the scales, which is actually, the transition is very solid, and there's like an abrupt stop, which is pretty natural, I would say. You got some more, I'm not sure if these are scales or some feathers, because these ones almost look like they're scales, but on the other side you don't see that. It's just the feathering. So I'm not sure if there's like variation that Mattel is trying to do or something. I'm not sure, but really good though. I really wish that they maybe gave like the toe claw here, the killing one, like an actual articulated joint to it, so you can make it look like it's pinning down prey. That'd be really cool, especially for a large raptor like this, but that's just me. And then here on the arms, they look really great as well. Nice amount of feathering here on the arms, which look fantastic. The sculpt work just looks really good, and the feathers transition into scales here on the hands. Nice pebbled looking scales here on the wrist, and then the nice ridges across each finger, and some really sharp looking claws. But because of that, each of the arms is molded in like this rubbery soft plastic, so it's very bendable, very movable, which is really cool. So I guess that kind of helps to kind of make sure these claws aren't too sharp. But yeah, I really like the floppiness, you know, the waviness, the bendiness, I guess, of these rubber arms, which is really cool. I really do like these a lot. Even on the inside of the arm is really nicely done with the feathering, which looks great. And I like how it's different on the inside than it is on the outside, which is really cool. So yeah, I really like that, and nice detail on the inside of the hands as well. And I will say, I personally would have liked maybe if there was a bit more feathering on the arms to give it more of a full-on like wing looking appearance, kind of like the Pyroraptors in Jurassic World. But hey, at least they added a lot of feathers on the arms, so hey, that's a plus right there. So I'm not going to complain too much about that. Mattel did the best they could, and I think it's really good what they did. But yeah, sculpt wise, excellent figure. Paint job, I really like the paint job. It's almost kind of reminiscent to Kenner's first Utahraptor figure from Kenner. It has like this orangish color with some black markings. This one is almost reminiscent of that. It's got the orange and brownish colors with some dark tones here and there, but it's obviously very different. And I really do like the color choices they did because it kind of matches a desert environment, in my opinion. So I like the dark colors for the skin. Really wish they did that for the hands and the everything from the ankle down to the feet. Just to kind of separate what's feathers and what's skin. Really, they did this part of the neck in this black color, even though those are actually feathers sculpted in. The inside of the mouth is nicely painted, or at least molded in a nice pink fleshy color with some nice white teeth. I like the bright yellow eye with the dark rounded pupil. Now, I would have been fine with just a slit pupil, kind of look like an actual Jurassic Park Velociraptor, but having it be round is a lot more realistic to a real life Utahraptor, most likely. So I do like that. I really like the white colors around the eye. It really pops on the dark colors of the face. And then for the front half, you got like the orange color for some of the feathering, and it kind of stripes into the body, whereas the rest of the body is this brown color. Now, I really like the colors. I really like how they're applied, but I do really think that these could have been applied a bit better. This one, dinosaur, much like others, kind of suffers from the cut in half little feature where it's like the front half is all painted and the back half is just a plain color. Would have been nice if more colors were kind of spread out onto the tail, in my opinion. But it is what it is. And hey, I'd rather have this brown be for the majority of this figure than having like where the brown is be replaced with this orange, because orange on top of unpainted nails just does not work. Kind of like what they did with these fingers. I would have preferred if these claws were painted, but if they were brown, at least it kind of hides it. Not very much, but that's just my personal opinion. If the paint job could have been better applied, in my opinion. Now for articulation, the paint job is very nicely though. In terms of articulation, for the arms here, they can move forward and backwards, pretty much 360, and they're very soft, so it's kind of easy to move, and they can pivot in and out, so you got some nice range of motion, get some nice posability with the arms, have it like attacking, have them down as if it's just like walking, and it just looks really good with the feathering. And then the legs here, really not really stiff, but they're on a ratchet joint, so they just only move forward and backwards. Yep, there's the sound effects, but they just pretty much move forward and backwards, which makes it look pretty good. You know, nice amount of articulation for the legs right there. I'm really like how they don't do the pivot in and out thing, because I just feel like that's just like an additional workout just to get it to stand. I like how you could just stand it like this, and if it doesn't stand, lean it against another dinosaur. That's how I do it. And then the tip of the tail can rotate, but obviously I don't like that because it really breaks up the sculpt, and it kind of bugs me when that happens. But yeah, that's pretty much it for articulation. Everything else is tied to the action feature. So for the sound effects, you just basically take the tail, like the Primal Attack toy line, you can move it up and down or twist it side to side and it makes noise. And actually, you know, you can twist it side to side and it won't make any noise, but you can make it rotate, which is really cool. And you can make it go up and down and it will chomp its snout and make some sound effects. Really cool action feature. So as you can see in terms of the sounds, they are pretty much Indoraptor sounds from Fallen Kingdom, which is okay. I mean, that one was a giant raptor essentially, so I guess it makes sense why they applied it to the raptor for the Utahraptor. However, in my personal opinion, it would have worked if they just did normal Velociraptor sounds. because that would have worked because it's a giant raptor. Or better yet, I really wish they would have done Pyroraptor sound effects, because that one's also a feathered raptor. So adding that to this Utahraptor would have been a lot better, in my opinion, than a Indoraptor. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. So for comparisons, we'll compare it with a human figure. As you see, this raptor is pretty large, pretty fitting, because I think Utahraptor definitely is one of the largest, if not the largest, dromaeosaur that has been discovered, which is absolutely terrifying, by the way. And yeah, I think this one pretty much is a good representation of how big Utahraptor is. However, I know for sure it's not as dramatically big as what this toy is showing. It would have been a tad bit smaller. But overall, I mean, it's a really cool little display right here, because as a kid, I would have enjoyed having my characters being chased by a giant raptor instead of the smaller velociraptors, you know? With that, we'll just throw in a standard velociraptor, and you can just see the difference in size right here with all three of these. And you can just see, you know, velociraptors are already kind of big next to a human, but then you throw in a Utahraptor, and it's a whole new ball game right now. And I really like the difference in scale right here. It just looks so awesome, in my opinion. And we'll also throw in the Pyroraptor, because it's another feathered velociraptor, or a feathered raptor, not velociraptor, sorry about that. And they look really nice together. The feathering and all that just looks really great. Hopefully you guys can hear me with all the wind. It might be starting to rain soon, so I'm gonna try to wrap this up. But the feathering here on both of these look really great. But I really just love the comparison between the velociraptor and the Utahraptor, as well as a, you know, a standard human, which they just look really great together. Now, Utahraptor lived in Utah during the Cretaceous. So what other animal is famously put with Utahraptor because they live together? And that's Gastonia. And luckily, Mattel made a Gastonia figure last year. So it was only a matter of time before they gave us the Utahraptor, because here we got an actual rivalry that actually happened in real life, or at least that's what we think, or most paleontologists think anyway. And I think it's really good. The sizes are not perfect at all. Like I said, Utahraptor would have to be a tad bit smaller. Maybe even Gastonia would need to be a tad bit bigger, because they were roughly pretty good scaling next to each other, because Utahraptor would have had trouble going after something like this. The way this guy is, how big he is compared to this little Gastonia, he could easily destroy this guy by flipping it over, you know, and just going after it and not really struggling at all, unless it got hit with the spiky tail. But really cool. I love how I finally have both of these dinosaurs and can compare them together. Now I just gotta go find a cool spot outside somewhere and take a picture of both these guys together, because that would just be awesome to have both of these species that actually live together during the same place and same time. Overall, really cool. Obviously the scaling does not work at all, but still it is really cool to compare a Gastonia with the Utahraptor. So yeah, these are just really great. So everyone, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm probably gonna wrap it up right now because it's gonna start to rain soon. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review. I highly recommend this figure because Utahraptor is just an awesome dinosaur. And I recommend everyone to pick up this giant dromaeosaur because like I said, it's awesome. I like the paint job. I really love the sculpt work on it. And yeah, I'm just happy to have a Jurassic Park Utahraptor figure in my collection. Yeah, it's just an awesome figure. I'm really glad I picked it up. Easily a 10 out of 10 figure for me. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this figure in the comments. But other than that, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'll see you guys again for the next video.